All right, we are here at the Consolidated Republic Mining Company Railroad with our host, Greg Wright.
Hello.
There he is. So, Greg, this is a unique scale. So this is not HO, not S, not G.
And not O.
Not O. It is something else.
This is 32nd scale.
Okay.
Or 3/8 inch to the foot.
Okay.
So if you're familiar with O scale, that's 48 scale or 1/4 inch to the foot. This is half again as big as O scale.
All right.
But it's a 20-inch gauge, very narrow, so little bitty equipment, running a mine tram, bringing ore from the mines up here at Division to the mills at Millburg, and then ultimately to North Ellensburg to load into the standard gauge to go to the Asarco smelter in Tacoma.
Now, was there an actual 20-inch line?
There was in east of Phoenix, in the Globe, Arizona area.
Okay.
And as they matured through the years, they actually went to a wider gauge, more typical gauge. But they mined through the 30s. That's when this is. And then as they expanded, they kept going, and from what I understand, are still in business.
Wow. But this is obviously not Phoenix. You're modeling where?
I'm modeling just across the Cascades into eastern Washington, between the real towns of Ellensburg and Wenatchee. Across up over the mountains, there's a little bitty town called Liberty up there where they did placer mining, and the theory is we found the lode and went to full underground mining. If you continue on across the pass over towards Wenatchee, there was a significant amount of underground mining up through the 30s there.
Wow. Okay.
So there's some real history to here, just altered a little bit to fit better my location.
Well, we all get to modify things a bit, you know, to make them fit.
But this is amazing, and I'm guessing with this unique scale, you pretty much make everything.
Pretty much scratch build or heavily kit bash everything. I use a lot of the Bachmann 30 parts, but I raise things up, put bigger couplers on them, build new superstructures. My buildings are mostly scratch built, but I am always on the lookout for cars and people and toys and detail parts from any scale I can find that I can use in here to detail the scenes.
That's awesome. Now, you said you can use HO scale track as well?
This is HO gauge track.
Gauge track, okay.
So I use flex track and prefab switches and put real deep ballast in, and then in other places I hand lay it all so you can see the ties. And it all depends on really where it is on the scene, what level of detail I go to. Millburg, where you're at right now, this scene is about 10 feet wide is all. And one operator spends their whole day here. Every ore car has to be weighed and unloaded and sent back up the hill to the mines.
Now, how many people do you operate with if you're doing a full crew?
Full crew is 4 people. 1 person to run this yard, 1 person to run the yard that serves the mines themselves, 1 person to run the local that supplies the mines, and 1 person to run ore cars back and forth up and down the hill.
What's the goal of the dark hole here in the middle?
So this is the flat helix, which means it goes around 1.5 times, doesn't gain any elevation, but it gains distance
Okay.
between the two scenes. And it also allows me to run as a switchback to go up to a new mining area that's under development.
Ah, all right.
So these are the different track plans that do that for me.
I see. Okay.
And normally this would be closed, so you can't see that during the operating session.
Gotcha. What's this artifact you got here?
So I've got a number of historical pieces. That one is a 1982 engineer and geologist book that my wife's grandfather had.
Mm-hmm.
It's gotten to be so frail that I keep it in this case now. But he had an interest, and this talks about mining before my railroad was even in place, and that's silver ore that I collected.
Oh.
I have a degree in geology.
Okay.
Before I got in the fire service.
I say, there's rocks and now fires. Well, I guess your current line of work contributes to making your previous line of work.
Now, what is the display case here?
So the display case has my early Lionel on the bottom. It's not my original engine because I wore out my original engine. The train on the left is what I was building in high school. That's an old Mantua metal boiler, metal tender kit bash that I did.
Okay.
And then to the far right is some HON3 kit bashing that I did. The locomotive is scratch built over a model die casting 280 cut down to a 260.
Now, why not HON3?
Because as I was building HON3, I kept coming up with a Colorado style, what I call a mainline narrow gauge, and what I really wanted was a tram line, an industrial line. So by forcing into this larger scale into this room, I forced myself to stay as a tram line.
What is this town over here?
This is North Ellensburg you're looking at.
Right.
And that's really the interchange point to the outside world.
Yeah, and that was back over here. This scene right here inside this shop is just amazing with the detail. I mean, you have the operator of the lathe, you have the parts, you have actual metal shavings in the lathe. I don't know if I can get that. Oh, kind of. All right. I mean, are you fabricating, like, did you make that lathe, or was that a part you found and painted?
So the lathe is O scale.
Okay.
But I had to raise it up so the base is built to meet the height of the operator.
Ah.
The operator is a Christmas decoration.
Oh, really?
So there's a number of the Christmas figures that are close enough to 32nd scale that I can use. So I've moved the lathe up to meet him. Some of the other tools in there are 1/2" scale, and some of the tools are scratch-built tools. The building came out of the Ukraine.
Really?
The company there makes them for the military modelers to build dioramas.
Okay.
So I found their equipment, and I've been buying up some of their buildings to do all my brick buildings. So that's just gorgeous brickwork.
Now, are you cheating right here? Is that the Atlas HO turntable
That is the
everyone's
Atlas
had at least once?
HO turntable. That's the hidden staging.
Okay.
And when the area above it eventually gets finished, that's the area called pit.
Yeah.
When that's all done, it'll have a tail track that comes out over here,
Okay.
and you'll operate pit from this end looking in.
Okay.
And there'll be a mirror here, so you'll see the full pit extending back from here.
Got it.
Even though only this side of it will actually be built.
Hey, you got to get creative in a small space.
So that picture is my dad working for the Northern Pacific Railroad at that point.
Was that out of this area?
Eastern Washington, out of the Pasco area.
Okay.
I think that's probably about late 50s, early 60s. And in 35th scale, 32nd scale, you can build actual figures. So he's on my railroad.
Do you hand make the figures? Do you send them off, like 3D printing?
No, so I start with a military figure or something that's close, and then I start chopping them up, putting new arms and legs, changing the body positions, whatever it takes to recreate the person. And it's best if you can find a person that has a distinctive physical feature or stands in a certain way that people recognize, and then you build off of that.
Okay.
And in 35th scale, 32nd scale, you end up painting their faces, including all the shadows that make up their clothing and make up their faces, because there's not enough light indoors to really create that. So you paint all of that in.
Do you have a lot of animation sound effects in the layout?
Yeah, so you tripped a trigger there that gives a wheel squeal. So when the train's either coming down, it's a brake squeal. When the train's going up, it's a wheel squeal because it's such a sharp curve.
Gotcha.
There is a rattlesnake here that rattles at you if you get too close. There's animation sounds for the water stops. There's animation sound for the ore being dumped out of the steel ore cars. And there's full animation in Guston's Tavern over at North Ellensburg. And if you look real close, the accordion player sitting there will pump his accordion.
Wow.
And when he's done, the music stops, then the bartender begins to walk back and forth behind the bar.
And how did you animate all that? How did you make it work?
Motors and gearboxes from, I think they were Tamiya,
Okay.
and a lot of simple electronic parts.
These phones look old and authentic. Are they reproductions? Are they old phones?
They're old phones, but they don't really work.
Oh, okay.
But
So
they
you-
are connected to a buzzer.
Okay.
So when you want to call the dispatcher, it rings and dispatcher talks to you. It doesn't really come through the phone, but it gives the impression.
I gotcha.
So
Where do you hide your dispatcher when he's dispatching? Inside the Helix?
No, the dispatcher's me, and I'm usually standing here in the corner waiting to fix something.
Okay.
And it's a single track main line between Millburg and the mines, and between Millburg and North Ellensburg, so there has to be control on those.
Well, thank you very much for the tour. It's a lovely layout. It's awesome what you've done in a small space, and the fact that you scratch built pretty much all of this is incredible.